Just wait to be turned on live. So for all of you that didn't know that, that was a dead moment.
It didn't happen. We were live.
It didn't happen, right? Are we live?
Live.
Okay. So would you please rise for the presentation of colors? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. You may be seated. This time I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
And then roll call vote. Mr. Bryant?
Aye.
Amy Churchill?
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins?
Aye.
Max Queen?
Aye.
Cindy McMahon?
Aye.
Peggy Buchanan?
Aye.
Ann Franklin? Aye. At this time, I'll recognize Ms. Swanger, and she will, oops, I always forget something, and tonight it's the superintendent. So, it's not going to be good. Dr. Baldwin.
That's okay to forget me. We have completed day 4 of transition, and I want to say a successful transition to the district-wide optional math policy. I do want to recognize, however, to everyone that there was an additional change that has already gone into effect as well on Tuesday morning. Masks are now optional for students and staff while riding our school buses, and that is per the new CDC federal guidelines. So I think thanks to Stacia Harris and our communications team for, I think, ensuring that that message went out to our all of our school communities. Later in the agenda, we will be recognizing 37 Buncombe County school teachers that have recently renewed or completed for the first time requirements for their national board certification. That process is a rigorous 1 to 5 year commitment of time that enables teachers to use the latest evidence-based, data-based methods for making their classrooms more engaging and successful. Buncombe County Schools ranks 18th in the nation, 18th in the nation for the number of national board certified teachers. In 2019, the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards named Buncombe County Schools a National Board Accomplished District, as more than 20% of our teachers held the advanced teaching credential. Congratulations to these teachers and their spouses, by the way, for such a valued accomplishment. I would like to also extend special congratulations to our outstanding communications department. We fondly call them the little engine that could. That team is led by Director Stacia Harris, and she has been invaluable to our school district over the past 2 years under the shadow of COVID. The North Carolina School Public Relations Association held its annual Blue Ribbon Awards celebration on February 11th. And at that virtual event, Buncombe County Schools earned 3 Blue Ribbon Awards in recognition of excellence in school communications and electronic media. And all 3 of those awards were gold, which is the highest honor in that category. So congratulations. We're just so proud. What would we do without our communications team, right? Important events are ahead in the month of March. District-wide, the 11th is an early dismissal, and the 23rd is an optional teacher workday. And then Tuesday, March 29th, Board, you might want to make sure this is on your calendar, the middle school and high school all-county student orchestras will be performing at Irwin High School beginning at 6:00 p.m., and I'm sure that's going to be an outstanding concert, as it always is. And that concludes my comments from the forgotten superintendent, Madam Chair.
I apologize, Dr. Baldwin, I certainly do. It is now time for the curriculum feature, and I believe Ms. Swanger is the one that's in charge of this.
Today I am. And thank you for not skipping Dr. Baldwin, because he did a perfect lead-in for who we're celebrating tonight. These newly accredited and the renewed the National Board Certified Teachers are here in front of us, and we're here to celebrate them. They take on such work to look at their reflective practices and to learn from each other and work to only be better. So we thank them for their dedication to our students and to our profession. So we're going to celebrate you this evening, and I invite Laura Meyer. She is a secondary district literacy coach, and she has the passion for these teachers and wants all of them to sail through the process, and she mentors them. So welcome, Laura.
Good evening. I have had the honor of coordinating our board support for the past 20 years, and each time I'm so impressed with the dedication and perseverance of these accomplished educators. But honestly, I think this latest group has amazed me the most, and here's why. Not only have they analyzed, reflected, and refined their practice, meeting a set of incredibly complex standards, but they've done it during remote learning. The National Board requires teachers to videotape their classes, as you might know, but they require students to be talking to each other and to the teacher in a way that captures facial expression and physical engagement. And as many of us know, though, during remote instruction, sometimes it was a challenge to get students to even attend class, much less turn on their cameras and engage in academic discourse with their peers. In fact, these MBCTs you see tonight were actually warned by the National Board in writing how difficult it would be to capture such interaction in a remote environment. And they were advised that the National Board had no intention of lowering its expectations because of that. And yet, here they are. You know, every year I brag about our stats, and Dr. Baldwin did a great job of telling you some of them. But you know what? We get better every year. We have 632 National Board Certified teachers in our schools, which again places us in the top 20 just for the number of MBCTs in our district, and that's nationwide. And Dr. Baldwin's right. A couple of years ago, we got recognized as a National Board Accomplished District because we had at least 20% of our teachers. Well, with this group here, we've just surpassed 30, and we're in a new group that only 14 districts in the country are in.
Oh.
So, yeah. I think that in Buncombe County Schools, National Board Certification has become almost an expectation. It's a shared goal. It's an essential professional learning experience for these teacher leaders. One of those teacher leaders is here tonight, and he has graciously agreed to represent his peers as he celebrates his second National Board renewal, which means he's gone through this 3 times. Many of you know Mr. Cliff Dotson. He is Director of Bands at Cane Creek Middle School. He has conducted and adjudicated band clinics and festivals all over North Carolina and throughout the Southeast. Mr. Dotson is well recognized and very well respected by his peers, but most importantly, he is well loved by his students. Cliff cares for his students both inside and outside the classroom, and quite frankly, can be credited for co-parenting them through those challenging middle school years and beyond. So parents, too, appreciate Cliff, and I know because I'm one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Cliff Dotson.
Thank you, Laura. So before I begin, I do want to acknowledge none of us did this alone. And I personally want to thank my wife, who is with me tonight and is so supportive of my teaching career. I want to thank Leslie Halls. She and I both teach at Cane Creek, and we have laughed and cried and proofread our way through this process twice together. I also want to thank Bonnie Hanna and Christy Hurd, who helped me mentally and spiritually through this process. So, I asked the new teacher across the hall from me this week, if you were at the board meeting, what would you want to hear from me about National Board Certification if I were the one to give a speech? She paused a second, and then she responded jokingly, as little as possible. Well, anyway, here goes. Wow, we did it. Each of the teachers being recognized this evening for National Board Certification has stressed and worked and stressed some more and worked some more. These educators taught throughout a pandemic, and while lawmakers and rule makers asked us to completely rethink how we educate and do everything we can to save each student's education, we did not give up. We were not defeated. In fact, we upped our game. I think every educator being recognized tonight questioned whether they wanted to pursue this certification or renewal during these difficult times. If we're honest, there were probably many times during the process we wondered if we would complete it or if it was even worth it. Yet we all made the internal decision to persevere. We met our deadlines, we submitted our portfolios, and we did this on top of all the other deadlines we already have in any given year, on top of all the commitments to our loved ones and those who depend on us each day. For those not familiar with the certification process, the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards is the most respected professional certification available in education in America and provides numerous benefits to teachers, students, and schools. It was designed to develop, retain, and recognize accomplished teachers and to generate ongoing improvement in schools nationwide. The certification or renewal process is rigorous and originally could take over 6 months to complete. Now I understand teachers can complete the process over multiple years. During this time, educators must collect video samples of their teaching, analyze and reflect upon their successes, and identify areas that need improvement. We must meet strict parameters and sum all of this up in lengthy written analysis. Now, the question is why? Why did we, these teachers here tonight, persevere? If you asked us quietly in the hall of our school, one-on-one, some of us, if not all of us, would probably answer that we did it for the money. But there's no doubt that the financial incentive for achieving this certification is luring. However, I don't think that most of us who have been through this process would trivialize it so quickly. Take a look at our teachers who have renewed or become certified this year. Do you know them? What do you see? I see teachers who are leaders in their schools. I see teachers who go above and beyond every single day. I see teachers who work with all kinds of hours without compensation. I see teachers that care and love their students. I see teachers who are team players and want every aspect of their school to succeed, not just their classrooms. I see teachers who help other teachers to be better teachers. I see teachers that care for each child's success, regardless of their background or their home situation. I see teachers who take their job seriously. I see teachers who can clearly see the big picture. I see teachers who are all in for this profession. And that is why we took the challenge in the first place. And that is why we persevered. The money will be nice, no doubt, but we are all better teachers, and our schools and our communities are stronger because of your accomplishments and your dedication to this noble profession. Now more than ever, we need strong leaders in our schools. Please help me congratulate our Buncombe County Schools teachers who have achieved or renewed certification by the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards.
Thank you, Mr. Dotson. Now we want to ask each of you to come down. Laura's going to present a certificate, and then Dr. Baldwin and Madam Chair, would you join in the center of the floor, and we would ask you to get your picture made and give them a minute to get there. And then you will go out the door and have a group photo. So. As we start, let's celebrate our newly certified, brand new, first time going through this process. From T.C. Robertson High School, Lori Galbert. Representing Irwin High School in absentia is Victoria Banks. Representing William Estes Elementary in absentia, Alexa Shanklin. And Emily Green from Inca High, also in absentia. Next, we have Ann Bell from Black Mountain Elementary. And welcome Sarah Moore from Pisgah Elementary. Now let's recognize those who have gone through the process for the second or even third time. Here we go. Colleen Marks from A.C. Reynolds High School. Jessica Telfar from Black Mountain Elementary is in absentia. Next, we have from Black Mountain Primary, Lee Sally. Representing Candler Elementary, Janice Davis. From Cane Creek Middle School in absentia is Malcolm Anderson. Nicholas Case, also Cane Creek Middle in absentia. But next we have Cliff Dodson from Cane Creek Middle School. Leslie Hawes from Cane Creek Middle School. Representing Owen High School in absentia is Thomas Turner. And also from Owen High School, Joseph Hamrick. James Rumbaugh from Owen High School is in absentia. From Charles T. Kuntz Intermediate, Alette Birchfield. In absentia from Charles T. Kuntz Intermediate is Christy Watman. From Inca High School in absentia, Jennifer Drury, so congratulations to her. And also Inca High School, Beth Ann Hooper in absentia. Inca Middle, Aaron Fusler in absentia. Megan Fulkerson from Fairview Elementary in absentia. Cheryl Lewis, Fairview Elementary, in absentia, and Hall Creek Elementary, Christy DeLowry. Also from Hall Creek Elementary, Catherine Gilkerson. Catherine Laws from Hall Creek Elementary couldn't be with us this evening, or Stephanie Duncan from North Buncombe Elementary, Lori McPhee from North Buncombe High School, Kristen Wells from North Buncombe Middle, but we have Amy Jamerson from North Windy Ridge Intermediate. Welcome from T.C. Robertson High School, Emily Charette. Also from T.C. Robertson High School in absentia is Regina Phillips. From Valley Springs Middle, Richard Rookie and Aaron Macarelli in absentia. From W.D. Williams Elementary, Kelly Pritchard in absentia, and Dana Anderson from West Buncombe could not be with us this evening. So that's all. Appreciate your dedication to this process. We know it's time-consuming in conjunction with a pandemic, and we so appreciate it. Our students are fortunate to have you as their teachers. Our families are fortunate to have you teaching their children, and our peers in our school system are fortunate to have you as leaders in our Buncombe County schools. So thank you. And you may be dismissed to go out and have a picture, and then go home and get ready for tomorrow.
And teachers, if you could just follow Han out and hand grab Tim's camera. That's a better lens for you.
Yes, I think. All right, Mr. Shatley.
Yes, Madam Chair. It's now time for public comment. As a reminder, speakers will be called in the order in which they signed up. All speakers will have precisely 3 minutes to speak and must adhere to the guidelines set forth in Buncombe County Schools Policy 2310, Public Participation, including all those reasonable rules established by the superintendent. Profane and vulgar language, making threats, or revealing confidential student and staff information will not be permitted. Please address the board as a whole. Please note that the board will not be able to respond directly to public comment.
Thank you. So now it's time for public comment.
Madam Chair, we have 3 public comments. The first speaker is Greg Parks. And just a reminder, you will have 3 minutes. Please start with your name and what district you hail from.
Greg Parks. First, I'd like to start by saying thank you to the bus driver that was involved in the accidents from Johnson Elementary School this morning. You did a great job in preventing what could be a tragedy for this school system. I wanted to make sure you knew that I appreciated that and thanked you first right here. Now for the board. Since the political climate is changing and the tone on COVID is past, hopefully we as a board can get back to serving Buncombe County and quit catering to the political environment. What Buncombe County needs is representatives that are focused on school safety, curriculum that educates, not divide, student recovery from the negative effects of remote learning and masking that has harmed the development, mental health of the children and staff of Buncombe County Schools, failing policies that don't do enough to protect victims. Just look around at the bullying taking place in our school system. Taking the SEL approach where you try to see a situation from bullies' viewpoints is a joke. It only empowers the bully. staff shortages, staff relations. The board has a lot of work to do. I hope you're up for the task. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next speaker is Yvonne Coburn. Apologies. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and please state your name and what district you're from.
My name is Yvonne Coburn, and my daughter is in the Irwin High School District. I'm here tonight to briefly touch on and ask for your assistance. My daughter is a 9th grader and at Irwin High School, and during the Christmas break, she was the victim of online bullying. She was also friends with the young man who committed suicide. He rode her bus, as did the bully that was bullying that young man. I reported the online bullying over the Christmas break to an SRO officer because I was unsure of who Irwin's SRO officer was. My daughter had a horrible Christmas, including the threat that when school reconvened that she was going to get jumped at school. I'm not entirely sure. I wish I could come to you with a solution because I'm a solution-oriented person. I'm certainly not blaming the school. I'm not blaming the board. But what I am asking is for assistance for us parents who have children that are being bullied, either at school or online. It's a different day and age. You know, it's really easy to say, you know, we were all bullied through school. You couldn't get through school without being a victim of bully of some kind. However, it is now increased. My daughter was called a demon, that she looked like a demon, and this is a 15-year-old girl who has literally been modeling since she was 12 years old. Thankfully, my friends and my family were there to support her through Christmas. The photographers that she has modeled for were supporting her. We all ganged up, reported all of these anonymous accounts on Instagram to Instagram. We spent 3 weeks trying to get these accounts taken down. Instagram did take some of the accounts down. The kids know who these kids are. The SRO officers have to know. One of them was not exposed until the young man took his own life. As a parent, I am asking to work with us. We have bully rules in school. The kids sign that sheet of paper at the beginning of the school year, but it's just a sheet of paper. It means nothing to them. You know, as parents, I can honestly say I didn't read it. I just signed it. But the rules are there. And help us help the schools enforce them. Let's work together. We've got to do something. We've lost one child. It could have been my own. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
The final speaker is Sarah Wilcox. And please state your name and what district you're located in.
My name is the Reverend Sarah Wilcox. I'm in the Reynolds District. I first want to say thank you to the mother who just spoke for sharing that testimony. It was courageous and important. May we all yield to that information, and may we take seriously the charge she's given. Tonight, I want to first offer my deep gratitude to those who work and serve in the Reynolds School Districts. My children currently attend Reynolds schools, and it's imperative in these moments that we take time and intention to celebrate and honor those who have given so very much in these very difficult times. The principals, assistant principals, counselors, teachers, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodians, every member of these teams deserve to be acknowledged for the ways in which they have provided the best circumstances possible in the most complicated of times. The last 2 times that we have met, barring the special meeting, there have been named requests to allow for compensation of teachers equivalent with Asheville City's bonuses. Whatever we are doing in a town where there are no homes for sale that a starting teacher could purchase with their salary, it is vital that we recognize the need to better compensate those who work in our education system. 9 days ago, you all met to shift the masking policies at our schools. I do not oppose optional masking, but I do oppose decisions without standards. You established metrics, and you did not follow them. You then proceeded to change policy with no metrics announced. Metrics help us not act on whims and establish known expectations. Imagine if our kids were told, we decided not to grade your tests the way we told you we were going to, and then we told them, and we actually aren't even going to tell you how we're grading you in the future. They wouldn't be pleased. While I disagree with the meeting that is called when you have one 9 days later, and while I believe you should have maintained the masking for the most vulnerable, the part that left me most troubled was the lack of clear guidelines moving forward. In January, we arrived back to utter chaos and folks acting like they had no idea that it was coming. We knew then, and we know now, that it is possible we would have to require masking again. Please make clear your standards. Everyone deserves to know them. They ought not be a mystery. I'm hoping that they will be announced today. If not, I encourage you to please do this important work and make it known. Thank you again for your service to our schools. Gratitude does not preclude accountability, but I pray you know, despite differences, that I am grateful and pray for each one of you, our schools, and all that work and serve in these times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the action agenda. And the first item in that action agenda is budget amendment number 4. And are there questions from board members? Mr. Bryant, do you have a question?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
And that would be Pat Bryant,
Aye.
Amy Churchill,
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins,
Aye.
Max Queen,
Aye.
Cindy McMahon,
Aye.
Peggy Buchanan,
Aye.
and Ann Franklin. Aye. The next item on the agenda is the entrance and lobby reconfigurations to accept GMP and authorize CMAR to proceed. Are there questions for Mr. Fearley? Okay. Mr. Fearley, will you come forward? Ms. McMahon has a question.
Aren't you shocked?
I am just floored.
My question is about the wording of this memo. The recommendation is to accept the guaranteed maximum price as proposed by the construction manager at risk. But then the last sentence of the recommendation says, authorize the CMAR and architect to proceed with the construction phase based upon the terms of their contracts with adjustments to reflect the proposed schedule and actual GMP costs. So is it possible that the GMP will go up, or is this just if it goes down? I mean, because we're approving a guaranteed maximum price, but then there's this clause about adjustments to actual GMP costs. So I want to know what I'm actually approving.
So at the very beginning of a project, you have to make an estimate of how much this project is going to cost. It's the basis for the contract, because as you're working through a contract with either an architect or a CMAR, they need to get paid along the way up to a point. And the way our contracts are written is we make our best guess. They get paid up to the point when the project becomes approved by you folks. If it becomes approved, the actual number is used to apply those percentages for their fees and such. So that's what the meaning of that is, that now that we know what the actual cost is, we have a pre-negotiated kind of fee schedule, if you will, and we make the adjustments so that it now becomes a fixed fee after that. Is that fair, Mr. Shatley?
That is accurate, yeah.
It becomes a fixed fee after what point? After this?
After you approve the guaranteed maximum price, both for the architect and the CMAR.
So before, we're just working off an estimate, and we're working to get to this price. But you have to approve this price. You have to be satisfied with this price. So if Mr. Fearley came to you and said, the GMP is just way off, we don't have the budget for this, or it's 20 or 25% more than what we expected or initially budgeted, then Mr. Fearley may recommend that we not accept it and we go back and we value engineer or something of that nature. So what you're doing is we've already hired the CMAR, but you've just been, the CMAR and Mr. Fearley and the architect have been working off potential estimates of what the total project cost would be, and now we have that guaranteed maximum price.
Right.
So it's not going to go up after this unless there's like a change order.
That's my question.
Yep.
Is it going to go up after this? Because when I see this word adjustments,
You're making that adjustment with this approval.
okay, so it's not adjustments that are going to come later. It's that the adjustments are included here already.
That's correct.
Okay, now I understand. Thank you for explaining.
Other questions from board members? Mr. Bryant?
Oh, Madam Chair, I had asked some earlier and I'm good.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
Okay, Pat Bryant,
Aye.
Amy Churchill,
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins.
Aye.
Max Queen,
Aye.
Cindy McMahon,
Aye.
Peggy Buchanan,
Aye.
Ann Franklin. All right, next item is elementary class size waiver request. It's, we got this as a walk-in document, and I believe I need to recognize Tina Thorpe. Are there questions from board members about this item?
Madam Chair, I just wonder if it might be worthwhile to maybe take a couple minutes just to explain the law that has come to this.
Brought us to this
Yes,
point?
yes. So maybe the attorney.
Tina, you want to do that, or you want to let Dean do it?
Dean, do you want to do it? I can give it.
I'm happy to do it. So a few years ago, and this, as the superintendent can tell you, you didn't forget me tonight, did you?
No, I didn't.
As the superintendent will tell you, in administration, we have been dealing with a pretty significant change to legislatively demanded or directed class size for kindergarten through third grade. And that has created, for several years, the General Assembly were providing waivers on the implementation of this, and then they kind of just slowly narrowed it down. And so for kindergarten, it's 1 teacher per 18 students. For first grade, 16 students. Second and third grade is 17 students. And so there are some exceptions to this, and obviously one of those exceptions, we can seek a waiver if for some reason during the middle of the year, like if students move into the school, to the attendance zone, we can seek waivers for those if we need to, and those waivers have to be applied through the Department of Public Instruction. So that's what Ms. Thorpe and the administration are recommending for you to do tonight, is to recommend class size waivers at 2 schools. And I'll let Ms. Thorpe kind of fill in maybe if I forgot anything or more specific on these 2 issues.
I'll just give a little more specific. So the first one we're asking for is Pisgah Elementary, and it is for their kindergarten class. They have 2 classes of kindergarten. They're both at the 21, which is the max size that's allowed for kindergarten. And we just had a new student come and enroll, which is going to put one of the classes over. So we have asked, we're asking the board tonight to please approve this waiver, and then we'll send it on to DPI for their approval, because there's no other way to make it work. So we got to ask for the waiver. And this is happening all across the state, so it's a very common thing. Our next one is Glenarden Elementary, and we're asking for 3 first grade classrooms. They have 4 first grade classrooms there, and 3 of them are at the 20. And that is over the limit of 19 in those particular grades for first grade. So we are asking that each of those sections be a waiver approved for those, and we will also send those to DPI as well.
Thank you for the information. Are you satisfied now? Any other questions or comments? All right, then I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved, Madam.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
And that would be Pat Bryant,
Aye.
Amy Churchill,
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins.
Aye.
Max Queen.
Aye.
Cindy McMahon.
Aye.
Peggy Buchanan.
Aye.
And Ann Franklin. Now we will turn it over to Dr. Baldwin, and I'm not going to forget him tonight, at this juncture anyway. And this is the consideration of Buncombe County Schools' return to learn plans. And that would be Dr. Tony Baldwin's turn.
Get on things. Little delay. Just a reminder to the board and to the public, the law that remains in effect, Session Law 2021, that requires this board to vote, and other school boards across the state, to vote at least once a month on whether the face covering policy should be modified. That law has not gone away, so it remains in effect. So that is why this presentation continues to be made to you each month. Well, it's been a long time since I could say, I don't know if I've had an opportunity to say this since March of 2020, but the information I'm going to give you tonight is all good news. Hoping and praying I could say that, but it's been a long haul to get here. This particular slide, I think, will be familiar to you because it's one that we've sort of a standard slide that we've used. And by the way, we've been fortunate as superintendents in the state because the Department of Health and Human Services for the state, as well as the Department of Public Instruction, have held on a monthly basis, and that meeting, that Zoom meeting, usually takes place a couple of days before our board meeting. So I've had ability to have access to these slides, which is our most current up-to-date information. 4 key metrics: rapidly declining, again, improving, patterns continue. Again, these are statewide metrics, daily cases by date reported, and again, you can see in terms of the graphing that we continue on that that downhill slide, which is what we want to see. The positive tests as a percentage of total tests. I'm going to show you a slide a little bit later that will throw a bit of a caution in this, because if you, we had reference to the metrics that we put in place that I think served us well through this period of time, but we also have to realize that it was heavily based on that percent test, the percentage of positive over the total number of tests. And the change, as I think we all can recognize, is the introduction of so many home tests, which equate to non-reporting. So we have to question some of those statistics. But again, for public health, from our physician offices, those tests, positive tests as a percentage, again, we're seeing that nice steep slope going in the right direction, decreasing. Percentage of emergency room visits that are for COVID-like illness, again, very clearly dictates, and the line that we want to zero in on is that gold brown line, 2122, current line, and you can see again that nice steep spike, and now that equitable drop that's taking place. Daily number of persons currently hospitalized due to COVID. And what has taken place from the state and national level with CDC, and I'm going to show you this slide coming up, a couple of slides, but what's taken the place of our map. Normally I would show you the map of the state and then per counties. It is now becoming more emphatic to look at the hospitalization, and especially on a periodic basis, making sure they monitor are our hospitals capable of handling the number of COVID cases coming in? So again, all four of these are key metrics. We've seen them before, and they're showing the patterns that we hoped we would see. I thought this was very interesting. Again, this is statewide. This really narrows down into ages 0 through 17. Again, you can see that decrease, the high spike that occurred in January. We all dealt with that. That was the Omicron variant that came into play. It also hit us right after the holiday break, and it was a nightmare. But now we are seeing again that slope dropping us back down to really almost pre-COVID levels. Although, again, I will remind all of us that COVID-19 has not gone away. It is still out there in the community. So we have to continue to monitor this. This is a new slide, again, with the emphasis that we're seeing both from a national standpoint with our public health experts and our state. And you also, if you recall, the speaker that came in and talked with us at the last board meeting from the ABC Science Collaborative, again, looking at the emphasis, monitoring the hospitalization trends. And there's actually two particulars, it's sort of a two slides in one. But this reflects the daily trend of reported COVID-19 confirmed patients. And again, there is a breakdown on that left side with ages. That's probably easier to see if you look at that right-hand side, again, showing the confirmed patients that have been newly admitted. And again, the key there for us is 17 and under at 4%. Again, focusing on the hospitalizations and moving away from the percentage of positivity off of your total tests. Feel free to stop and ask some questions. I don't know if I can answer them, but I'll give it a shot. This is also a new slide, and I think this is very interesting too, and I think it supports the direction that this particular board, that across the state public health, and as we see even across the country, this movement toward universal, moving toward optional. And what we're seeing now, and again, this particular slide focuses in on both. It gives you the U.S. picture as well as the state picture, and it talks about the increasing levels of some portion of immunity across the state of North Carolina. Actually, 3 studies on that particular slide. The first one that the emphasis I want to address on that first particular study, it was a comparison of reported cases to antibodies in the blood. But it's very important that we see again, recognize, as we heard from the ABC Science Collaborative, that reported cases and undercount of actual cases. And again, we've referenced why that is. Overall, it's likely that 2.5 times more actual cases than reported cases. And look at this, it's likely that when we talk about children, that it's likely 4.7 more actual cases than what's reported in children. And again, I think from a standpoint of us as parents and myself as grandparents, I think we understand, again, the prevalence now of what, and the prevalence, availability of home testing that is not reported back in to get the type of data that initially we had early on. Okay, just a recognition of that. The second study estimates the percentage of the population ages 16 and older that have developed antibodies against SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19, from vaccination or infection. From vaccinations or infection. And this runs data through December of 21, so it's not as up to date as we would like, but it's still data to look at. For the United States, that's 94.7%. And again, that is estimates for ages 16 and older have some type of immunity that's been developed, again, either through vaccination or through having had COVID. And then for North Carolina, that figure is 94.3%. fairly high, very high, I would say, for ages 16 to 29. That is at 94.6%. So I thought a very telling slide. We actually had that particular study, again, that was referenced through the ABC Science Collaborative. Again, they seem to have had their finger on the bead in terms of the public health interpretation of COVID-19. And then the final study, a multi-state assessment, and it provides estimate of the percentages of all people in the United States. It also gives North Carolina numbers that have currently resolving COVID-19 case, or they've have a past infection. And again, those numbers for the United States total, all ages, 43.3%, North Carolina 40%, slightly under the national average, 0 through 17. When you look across the country, that averages at 57.8%. And for us in North Carolina, again, ages 0 to 17, that's 52.5%. So I thought this slide was very interesting and appropriate to show you, again, it's an indication of again, I think a very positive in terms of the community concern for community transmission, that at least the immunity seems to be in a fairly high percentage across North Carolina. Now, I mentioned to you that if you recall, one of the three primary data points that we looked at as we talked about what prompts changes, that one of the keys was the map that came through the CDC. And you remember the color codes. We seem to have stayed in red on that particular map for, Kim, I don't know. We kept monitoring almost every day, and I wish we'd kept a count of how many days in a row once it went red, but it was a significant number. Again, the CDC has changed that model, and here is what the new model is based upon. No longer a heavy priority given to the percentage of positivity. Again, it includes different factors, especially toward the hospitalization. So let me give you what's not up there. Let me give you what the most recent numbers, and this is February 24th, that we were able to pull that's relevant to this particular chart and this particular matrix for Buncombe County. If you will see that there's really two sections when you look at that model, and it's all based on the new COVID cases per 100,000. And Buncombe County on February 24th, that was 346 cases. So if you look again at that matrix, it's going to fall under 200 or more. Everybody following me? Okay? And in 200 or more, the new COVID admissions, again, this is hospitalization per 100,000. That's a 7-day total. For it to be medium, it is below 10%. And our figure on February 24th was 9.3%. So that, again, put us in the medium category. And then the second is the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. Again, that's a 7-day average. And for us, again, it needed to be, in order to be medium, it has to be less than 10%. That was 6.8%. So that gives you some relative numbers specific to Buncombe County and how it fits on that matrix. I know the board had interest in revisiting what could we use as a new revised matrix. What I would say is this is certainly a good start right here because it reflects what we're hearing from the national umbrella of public health, which is the CDC, and that's followed very carefully by our state Department of Health and Human Services. There's one other factor that, as a superintendent, I'm trying my best to monitor, and some of what the challenge is. I think we all understand that when the toolkit was revised, and we said this, essentially what happened is contract tracing went away. So when you combine that with the fact that the data that we can pull may be somewhat skewed because it doesn't actually include home test results, then for us, probably the one statistic that we can continue to look at across the system, and even a more a closer look inside each school, inside each classroom, is the number of isolations. Remember the different terms. If a student is isolated, they're isolated because they have tested positive for COVID. That's a 10-day requirement. However, as long as they come back on day 6 without fever, symptoms, and they wear that mask, day 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, they can come back into the school building. That said, what's left is still, they are classified as isolated. So that's the number that I feel like we need to really zero in on. That's a very local number. And what that will allow, in essence, is this. Let's say that we have, for whatever reason, a particular outbreak in one area of the county. We're a large system, right? So it may mean that this might mean for that particular school, that particular level, middle school, elementary, intermediate, primary, or high school, that may mean us shifting back to a required mask policy for that particular school. That could also be true for a classroom. Now, again, the numbers that we've seen so far doesn't give us any initiative or stimulus to go there, but it could in the future. So that's the one statistic that I would say that we could try our very best to monitor, but a larger matrix, I think, is staring us right there in terms of where the CDC has gone with this. Because again, they are the public health experts. They are making the recommendations from the national level through the state to the local. And then also, I referenced this in my comments, very important. Effective February 25th, CDC updated its previous guidance, so it no longer requires that people wear masks on buses or vans operated by public or private school systems. It not only includes our K-12 school system, but includes early care and education and child care programs. And again, that is directly from the CDC. If you remember, at our last board meeting, we gave 2 exceptions to the optional masking. And the first one we talked about was exactly what got changed 2 days later. So once again, the constant of COVID-19 since March 2020 is changed. So I have no doubt that the future will continue to bring on some changes that just come around the corner for us. But we're prepared. We are much more prepared than we were in March of 2020. Here's the recommendation from the district leadership to you, the board, that we extend the mask optional face covering guidelines as approved by the Board of Education, special called meeting February 22nd, that would include optional masking on school transportation buses and vehicles, because that is the change, as I've showed you, that came from CDC. So that's the recommendation, Madam Chair, we're bringing to you tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Baldwin. Do board
have a quick
members
question.
have questions for him?
Yeah, I'm wondering, and I don't know if you even know this, but do you know if the CDC is going to update their website to reflect the new community levels using this matrix? Is it still doing?
This one, but they haven't removed the other county tracker.
Yeah.
And so like if you go to the county tracker, Buncombe County is still red.
Yeah.
But if you go to, they have a separate map, and if you just look up community level indicators, CDC community level indicators, you'll find that map, and it shows Buncombe County as I guess it's yellow, medium, the medium.
Thank you.
Yep. It's very confusing. It took me a while too.
This isn't the first time, as you know, since the beginning, we've really struggled with who provides what particular data information, and so we're still hoping to get not only the continuity for everyone, but also if it's changed, then it's changed in a timely manner for all public information. So we've checked that every month or every day as well, every morning.
Other board members have questions?
Madam Chair, this is Pat Bryant. I have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
For Dr. Baldwin. One of the charts Dr. Baldwin was referencing the 3 studies that dealt with immunity after being infected as well as immunizations and those statistics. Is there any, I didn't see it in the chart, but do you have any information that references how long immunity lasts for someone who has been infected? I have heard, and probably most of us have, of some folks who've had this twice. And I'm just curious if there's anything in that information that would reference that.
I do not have that information, Mr. Bryant, but that's something certainly we could contact. I'm sure Stacy Saunders and that team could give us that information. I too have heard about 3 different responses to that, so I can go back and find that for the board.
Thank you.
All right.
Madam
I
Chair, I
don't
would be
see any
happy
other
to make the
questions.
Madam
motion.
Chair, I don't know if this should be a question for Dr. Baldwin or more of just, again, a request, but I guess I'll just ask you. So, you know, you did reference changing what we were looking at. I guess I'd just like to make that a little bit more official in that I would rather plan for the worst and continue hoping for the best, but having a plan in place so that we don't have to scramble to put something together and that the community is also aware of. So again, just looking to try to revamp metrics. And I agree with you. I think that the new CDC's community levels and including the hospitalizations is a perfect one for us to look at, as well as the isolations. I did have one other thing, though, because I know we had been concerned about that, is staffing shortages due to staff being out. If we may have to, excuse me, make some changes in that sense if we don't have the staff.
That's true. That's a difficult one to try to find a metric, to be quite honest. And again, I'll recognize the leadership from our HR department as well as our as a number of our district leadership and principals out in the schools. Certainly can't forget them. But we've been able to address some pretty significant staffing challenges that have come our way. We certainly can look at that and maybe come back with to the best of our ability, a metric or a set point that would be maybe a danger point in terms of staffing, but you're absolutely right.
Right, and maybe not even so much a metric as what you actually just referenced was, administration had a plan in place, and I guess if the board needed to continue a blessing on that, I would like to see that happen because throughout all of this, even with our high spikes, Buncombe County Schools did an excellent job providing in-person instruction.
No question, and I keep saying this, that I know we've had a lot of challenges. We've had a lot of very adamant and spirited conversations, from both internal and external of our schools. But we have to keep the big picture in mind, that with the exception of the 3 inclement weather days, that our doors have been open in our school building and our classrooms since the beginning of this school year. So that applause goes a long way and across a lot of different levels of our leadership.
So perhaps in next month's presentation, you could do a little narrative to address the issues that she brought to mind. How about that?
We could, sure, absolutely, with staff, especially with staffing, and we can try with our students.
Yeah, I just think it would be helpful for the community to see that we do have some plans in place.
Sure.
Just in case.
Okay. So with that in mind, I would entertain a motion to approve the staff's recommendation.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Pat Bryant?
Aye.
Chill?
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins?
Aye.
Max Queen?
Aye.
Cindy McMahon?
Aye.
Peggy Buchanan?
Aye.
Anne Franklin. And I'll also say again that by passing this, we're asking staff to come back and address some of the things that Ms. Churchill said in your presentation next time. How about that? The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, the minutes from February 3rd, 2022. Personnel report with addendum, 2022 academic summer school plans, state report, student support personnel, adoption of the new state records retention and disposition schedules, general records schedule, local government agencies and program records schedule, and local public school units. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, that would be Pat Bryant,
Aye.
Amy Churchill,
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins.
Aye.
Max Queen.
Aye.
Cindy McMahon.
Aye.
Peggy Buchanan.
Aye.
Anne Franklin. On the information agenda, we have financial reports, the financial report, and policies for first reading, which are policy 1510, 4200, and 7270, which is school safety. Policy 2302, remote participation in board meetings. Policy 5020, visitors to schools. Policy 5022, registered sex offenders. Policy 5210, distribution and display of non-school material. Policy 6305, safety and student transportation services. And Policy 6340, transportation service vehicle contracts. Our next meeting will be April the 7th. Our closed session begins at 4 in the Bowcatcher room. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Pat Bryant.
Aye.
Amy Churchill.
Aye.
Amanda Simpkins.
Aye.
Max Queen.
Aye.
Cindy McMahon.
Aye.
Aunt Peggy Buchanan.
Aye.
Anne Franklin. Hope y'all have a nice evening.